Hey guys, this is Kyle Carroll of MyMMAnews.com with Carroll's Corner MMA. I'm joined by Jason Adams. Jason, thank you for joining me.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. So Jason, you're the owner of Underdog MMA Management. Tell us a little bit about what you guys do for your athletes.
Um, Basically, I mean, the short answer is, and excuse the animal kingdom birds you can hear. No one told me finches reproduce so much. Um, my idea is I try and get them fights, try and get them sponsors. I think that's something. I'm trying to look more into the camera. I think that's kind of my strength is finding sponsors. I tell people. I can take the weatherman outside in a snowstorm and convince him it's 90 and sunny if I have enough time. And just that. And I kind of pride myself on a lot of, I think people who do what I do consider it more of a job. I don't consider it a job. I consider it, I get to help look out for my friends. So, like, Jillian DeCourcy, I'll use her as
Yes.
the example. I don't think a day has gone by in the last 2 years where me and Jillian have not talked as friends, having nothing to do with MMA. So I don't think I can say there's one specific thing I do. I just do a whole lot of stuff. But the main thing, and any manager will tell you, is finding fights, finding sponsors, and telling Jillian her weight's okay.
Also, that's awesome that you have such a great relationship with your fighters. Now, the sport of MMA has kind of evolved a little bit over the last, I guess you could say, 10 years. Fighters used to have to do all that stuff for the coaches on their own, get the sponsorships, get the fights. Now, there's managers like yourself, and you guys take that complication out of their training and their life and make it a little easier for them. How has it evolved in the last so many years for yourself?
For for me personally, you mean?
Yes.
Um, I really couldn't say give you an exact how it's evolved for me. I've only done this myself for a couple of years. I started out just doing media stuff. But if you take the sport as a whole and how it's evolved, I think now fighters, well, there's still a whole lot that they need done to help make things easier for them. I think now there's less of a chance of fighters getting screwed over. If a sponsor, for example, says, I'm going to do this and doesn't do it, now they know there's someone kind of holding them accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even little things, again, I'll use Jillian because you know her. She had to do nothing but train. A few years ago, she's making sure her flight's coming in on time. She's making sure this paperwork is done. She don't got to do that anymore. She can just train, and I think stuff like that has made things a whole lot easier for fighters. And I think not everyone's good with social media. Uh, Not everyone knows how to properly promote themselves. And I think now that's another bonus of someone like me or other managers, because
Mm-hmm.
they're better than me, is there's someone out there helping them get their name out there more. And that leads to a lot more better opportunities.
You mentioned you would used to do media stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What made you make the transition into becoming a manager for your fighters, and how many fighters do you have overall?
As far as how many I have, currently 21.
Okay.
Uh, Two of them, Sophie Sharp and Layla Newton, they're young girls. They're not fighting yet, but their parents know the day they turn 18, they're mine. So I kind of consider them part of our team, anyways. And I got a couple of them out. One's in med school and everything, but there's 21, I believe, off the top of my head.
Okay.
How I got started was an accident. Uh, Stephanie Skinner and another fighter whose name does not deserve mention, they both pretty much just asked me if I wanted to manage them. And was like, I have no idea what the hell that even means. So I talked to some friends in the sport, and they kind of told me, you might be good at it. Go ahead and try it. And I tried it, and I accidentally did a few things correct, and more fighters, like, Rachel. I started out with a lot of amateurs, like Rachel Wiley, and she said she wanted to come on board, and I was like, all right, I don't know exactly what it is I'm doing right, but I must be doing something right.
Now, how many different promotions are your fighters in? I know you have Jillian's in Invicta, and there's probably a bunch of regional promotions throughout the country, right?
Yeah, I got two, well, one technically, one FC in Asia, Jillian's in Invicta. Hopefully, after she wins her fight coming up, Serena De Jesus will be in Invicta. She should be there already, so hopefully that'll take place. And then, you got a couple like Tamika Brent. She's signed to Gateway Fighting, which doesn't sound like it's a huge promotion. Maybe not everyone's heard of, but they take really good care of their fighters, and that can be a springboard to getting her back into Invicta. And Combate Americas. So no one in the UFC, but all those notch below UFCs. I got someone in every one of them.
That's awesome. And now, do you handle like all the contract situations? Do you help negotiate and get what you want for your fighters, or they tell you what you want and you go from there?
Everyone is different, and I do it the way they like it. Because in the end, it's their career.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people try and be too hands-on and have to control everything, and I'm not like that. There's some like Jillian and Rach Wiley. I'll handle everything for them because that's what they like. And then there's some other ones who want me to handle certain parts. I'll handle those certain parts. Some of them, their coaches already have a great relationship with a certain promotion. Okay, they're already comfortable together. Let them handle that part, and I'll handle the other parts. So each one is different, and I'm more than willing to do it however they're comfortable with it.
Okay, and now, is there anything you need to qualify to be a manager? Because I know a lot of, recently I've seen some people that I personally didn't think were qualified to kind of help conduct some people's careers. And I think that's frightening for some fighters. You clearly have been doing it for some time, and you got 21 fighters in your head, so you kind of, I guess, understand the ropes and stuff. What do you need to qualify to be a manager?
The risk of pissing people off, which I'm going to do, but I always do anyway, so here goes. There's a lot of people who are not qualified, who want to be part of something, so they manage fighters. You don't need any kind of qualification to actually do it, but you have to know what you're doing to be somewhat of a success at it. And I think, it's like I always tell people, like when they're going to get a manager, because some people, I'm not a good fit for everybody. I'll talk to somebody, and afterwards they're like, I don't think it's a good fit. Cool, your career. Find the one that is a good fit. So I always tell people, don't talk to the fighters that the manager manages. Talk to the fighters that manager used to manage. Don't find out why they're staying there. Find out why they left. And I think that's the best way to find out who is qualified and who isn't qualified. And there are people who might say, I'm not qualified. And that's okay. I mean, I've had people, I'm not going to put names out there, but say, I only do this to be famous. Well, A, if you're trying to manage to be famous, you're an idiot because there's no fame in it. And B, ask someone like Jillian. I hate when she gives me credit for anything. Like, she goes to tag me in a post thanking me. I try and stop her from doing it. So I don't think there's any qualifications you have to do it, but you have to have those qualifications to be successful. If you don't actually care about the fighter outside of what they do in a cage, you're not going to be successful. If you can't at the end of the fight, whether they win or lose, be just as proud of them if they got their ass kicked for 10 minutes or if they kick someone's ass for 10 minutes. You're not going to be successful because if you don't, that shows you don't care about them. That cares about you. You show you care about their success, and you can't do that. I always tell people, if it's up to me, if I have a 0 and 100 amateur or 100 and 0 pro, and the 0 and 100 amateur is a better quality person, I want that 0 and 100 amateur because that's the kind of person I want to work with. People I know I can care about, and their success is important to me. If that made sense.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think being able to work with the people and trusting the people you work with is important. Now, do you mostly just work with female fighters, or do you also work with some male fighters as well?
I do manage one, Ivan Wolfschlager. He's the boyfriend of Jenny Aniano, who I also manage. I started with females. There's like a long story to me. I used to be 300 plus pounds. I lost a ton of weight, and all my help was female. And that's how I got into like the female fitness world and started covering all that stuff. And it just transpired to MMA. I fought up in New York. My corners were Andrea Warrow and Rachel Davidio, two females. I started doing just the females to kind of like pay back.
Mm-hmm.
And in all honesty, it's more fun with females, and it's easier. I always tell people, like, they'll ask me why females, and I'll tell them, name me the male equivalent of Invicta. And they'll say, like, LFA or something like that. And I'll say, okay, tell me the last main event of LFA's card. They can't tell me. Tell me the opening fight of Invicta. And they can tell me who fought the first fight. And it's not to insult the men. It's just there's so many, they run together. You can't differentiate them. Women, there's less of them, and they're all different. And it makes it so much easier with certain things like sponsors.
I guess it's more of a unique, just something that there's more less of. So sponsors would want more of that. So I get that. Awesome.
And honestly, again, not to insult the men, but the women are more appreciative of anything you do for them, and that's important to me.
Awesome. Now, how about have you ever had a fighter that comes to you, they've never fought before, or they're just starting the fight and they don't really have a gym? Have you guided them to finding a gym and getting them fights and then moving them along that direction, or?
Not with finding a gym, but I have had fighters who have never fought come to me. The girl named Krista Adkins. She's in Kansas. She's about to have her first fight, and she knows I'll help her with anything. She's already part of a gym. She trains with, the gym. She trains with Jessica Middleton, for example, who's from Bellator. She had a gym, but she's not had a fight. And to me, if they're good people, I'll manage them. I don't care if you were fought before, if you know you're gonna fight.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as finding an actual gym, no. I have helped people who maybe they're not comfortable at the gym they're at and want advice on, do you know about this gym or do you know about that gym? And stuff like that I have helped with. But as far as first gym, no.
So you must have a huge Rolodex that just has everyone's name in it from all these promotions, gyms all across the country. Where are you located exactly?
I live in Lakewood, Ohio, which is a suburb of Cleveland.
Okay.
It made the drive to my fight in New York a pain in the ass, but but it's always funny too, though, because someone will come to me with a fighter, or a matchmaker will come to me and say, hey, I want this person, and if you have anyone else down there. So the person you're asking me about is in Colorado, and I'm in Cleveland, so I don't know who the hell else is in Colorado. They just assume, and it can't just be me, but they just assume wherever you're at that most of the people you manage live there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not the case at all. I've managed one person in Ohio.
Okay. Now, do you try to get to as many, I know Invicta kind of stays around within the Midwest. Do you try to get to most of those fights?
I have a tremendous fear of heights. I've never been in an airplane.
Oh wow.
I know that first airplane I get in, that is the one that's going to crash. I'm telling you now that plane will crash. It's just going to happen. However, like Jillian's, she just fought up in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
I, when they offered us to fight, I assume Kansas City. I was going to drive to that. It's a long drive, but it's doable. And then they told me Utah, and I was like, why? There's nothing in Utah. Like people in Utah don't want to be in Utah, but so I couldn't do that one. But I do want to start making more of an effort to do that, um, or just hope everyone starts fighting in driving distance.
Now for
So
the
I've not. Go ahead.
oh sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
I've not been to like an Invicta myself yet, but I want to, if for any other reason than to meet Caitlin Young, because Caitlin Young, anyone who knows me knows, is my all-time favorite fighter.
Awesome.
So it's like I love. She got the matchmaking job. I was like, that's like awesome. That's like a basketball fan all of a sudden get to work with Kobe Bryant to me. So
That's awesome. Now, Cleveland just hosted the NCAA championships for wrestling. Did you check that out at all?
I didn't, and I wanted to actually because I had a good couple good representatives from Michigan. I'm a huge Michigan fan.
That makes two of us.
Yeah, so, but no, I didn't because that was the worst possible weekend for it to be. I had so much going on that being there, I just was not possible. And it's even worse. It's like, it's not even just that it was in Cleveland. It's, if I go down my street and take a right, I'm there in 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So, like, I could have rode my bike to them if I wanted to. So, that kind of sucked.
Now for the fighters, like, because I've seen some managers have amateur fighters as well as professional fighters. The professional fighters, I assume they give you a percentage of their purse, but for the amateur fighters, they're not making any money. So how does I don't know if you do anything with that, but how do like usually most people, if you know, deal with the amateur fighters usually?
I can't tell you what everyone does. I can tell you what I do. I actually love to work with amateurs because to me, like Jillian and Rach, I'll use them as the example. Started with them as amateurs, and both of them told me, and if one more person sends me a message while I'm doing this, building to their dream of Invicta, to me, that's a million times better than jumping on someone that's already there and jumping on the bandwagon, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love to work with amateurs. As far as the pay, they don't give me shit. I don't care. I don't do this for money. I don't want this to be like my profession.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy doing. I take maybe, even the pros, I take maybe 30% of what usually a manager gets. I've lost money on fights, helping out with costs. And I'm 100% okay with that. I can't tell you what other amateurs do with their managers, and anything I'm saying, like I'm not. I know this is going to come across like I'm insulting others. Please don't take it as that. But me personally, I don't care about how much they make and how much I can get out of it. Like I'll go ahead and say how much I get. I have went the longest time taking nothing, even from pro fights. Jillian's Invicta debut, I didn't get a penny. I didn't want it. She tried to make it. Like she threatened to PayPal it to me. And I just refused. So finally kind of like shut them up. I told them I would do 10%. I said, no, they wanted 10%. I said, that's too much. I don't want that much. How about 5%? And they all agreed to meet me in the middle. However, to them, the middle was 9%. I don't figure that math out. I'm not smart, but I still think that's kind of not correct math. Because it's like it's not about money. Some people who want this to be like a profession, go get your 20% or your 25%. I get it. That's because that's your income. That's your way of living.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want this. I want to have a successful personal training business. That's how I want to make my money. This is just something I enjoy doing.
For like love of the game type of situation.
Yeah, it's just like I love the sport. I love being involved in it, and I'm a fiercely like loyal person. And if you're my friend, I'm incredibly loyal, and this helps me look out for those people.
Awesome. Jason, before we wrap it up, you want to shout out or recognize any sponsors that you guys have for your fighters?
Oh, good grief. I'm going to forget some of the sponsors. Don't hate me if I do, please. I'm usually the one reminding everyone what their sponsors are. But a couple I do have to point out. Wendy Jarvo with Six Chic. She's a pain in the ass, and she makes fun of my love of the Brady Bunch and calls me Brady. But that being said, she's done more for me than I can ever thank her for. Like, if you watched Invicta, you saw Jillian's fight outfit.
Mm-hmm.
That was Wendy. You saw the banner she had. That was Wendy. My fighters, when they fight, 9 times out of 10 have the best outfit in that cage that night, and that's Wendy's doing. And when I fought in New York, she let me basically live with her for a few days, so I didn't have to drive last minute. So I do got to thank her. Roger Mitterling. A lot of people might not know Roger. He's not a business. He's not a company. He just sponsors fighters to help out. Like,
that's awesome.
And like, doesn't ask for anything. Doesn't ask to be on a banner. So I do have to thank him. And there's some that just sponsor 1 or 2 fighters, and I can't go off the whole list, but I do have to point Jasenia with Jasenia JAQ Massage. We went to her to sponsor Jillian for Invicta fight, 1 fight, just to get her kind of fixed up.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, that woman, Jillian sees her constantly, stayed on long term. The woman flew out to Utah to watch Jillian fight.
Oh, wow.
So I gotta shout her out. And there's like so many, like I'm brain farting, and Jillian's gonna make fun of me for this, but I do gotta make sure I mention those couple. And for real, anyone who like lets me manage them, it's y'all are putting your career like kind of in my hands. I couldn't do that. I wouldn't trust anybody to do that. But y'all are trusting me, and like that means a whole lot. And there's that. And since she's the one that just fought, I gotta shout out Jillian. I told her the night before that fight. I said, 1.5 she's gonna stand with you. You're gonna hurt her. She's the one that's gonna want to go to the ground, and that's your world. That's exactly what happened. And since I love everybody I manage, but her was the last fight, so I just want to make sure she knows how proud of that girl I am. And in 18 months, when she's wearing the Invicta 105 title, remember who told you.
Awesome. Well, Jason, how can people find you if they want to approach you about joining your team?
I'm easy as hell to find. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram at Jason UD MMA, or I don't know. Type in # Underdog MMA. You'll find me. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. We have an Underdog MMA fan page on Facebook. I'm easy as hell to find, and I have no life. So usually you message me. Don't go away, because the message will be sent back to you within 2 minutes. I don't look for her. So I'm easy to find, and I am absolutely willing to talk to anybody. That's the one thing I've had more than once someone come up to me and say, like, I wanted to message you 6 months ago or anything, but I didn't think I had enough experience and didn't think you'd be interested. You don't know until you ask, and I'm interested in anybody as long as they're a good person.
Awesome. Well, Jason, I appreciate you taking the time to sit and chat with me. And like Jason said, if anyone wants to find him, hashtag Underdog MMA, and you'll find them. So, Jason, I appreciate you coming on, and good luck to the rest of your fighters.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and hope I didn't bore too many people.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. Have a good night.
Thanks. You too.